When we regularly drink alcohol to excess, we don't just numb out our stress. We're not only trying to feel less anxious in the moment. The truth is that the implications of drinking too much, too often, go much deeper than that. We're actually blocking our access to profound self-realization. We are blocking our ability for personal and spiritual growth. By the end of this video, you will not only learn how heavy alcohol use is holding you back, but you will also find hope and you will find inspiration to embrace a new way of being, a new chapter in your life where you can awaken from the slumber of alcohol and access your true potential, which until now has been obscured by continued alcohol use. I'm Jess. Welcome. You're watching Living Free. Imagine for a moment that you're standing on the threshold of a doorway, and beyond this threshold lies your greatest potential. Up until now, you have felt stuck and you have felt confused. You have felt filled with all sorts of self-doubt. But on the other side is access to your true self. The other side of the door offers deep connection to the true you that isn't defined by the limitations. This you experiences clarity of purpose and experiences and expresses a more unified sense of self. The true you is unobscured by the fog of conditioned perception. But every single time we reach for alcohol as a means to feel better, we're losing our ability to open that door and cross over to the other side. But it's never too late as long as you're still alive. But the more accustomed you become to drinking, the harder it becomes. Alcohol deceives us, plain and simple. The messages from society about alcohol are pure lies. There is absolutely nothing good nor beneficial about it. When we prioritize feeling good in the moment, we fall for this deception. Alcohol is a silent thief, and it's robbing you of your highest potential. Now, I want to discuss for a while the actual mechanism by which alcohol blocks our self-realization. We have to understand how it affects us both in our brain and in our mind, as well as on a spiritual level. Alcohol alters our brain chemistry. That should be no surprise, right? So understanding how it impacts us on a neurological level can actually be helpful. Our prefrontal cortex actually becomes dulled. It's important to remember that this prefrontal cortex area is the control center for all of our decisions, our self-reflection, and our higher reasoning abilities. However, when we drink alcohol, it suppresses our capacity for, any sort of self-reflection and introspection that's necessary for, these personal revelations and these breakthroughs to occur. Now, when we frequently consume alcohol, it's like we kind of always exist in a fog and we are remaining in the surface of our emotional world and we're unable to see below it. We become prisoners to our conditioned mental patterns. Essentially, we're hidden from ourselves. And we lack any sort of inner stillness because our thought stories, they won't stop yelling and creating all sorts of inner chaos for us. We drink in an attempt to stop this. That's why we're always reaching for that drink. But unfortunately, these thoughts, they get progressively worse when the alcohol wears off. If we exclude alcohol from the equation, we allow our minds a chance to be still. Now, Lao Tzu said, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." But continued alcohol use impairs this stillness and it prevents it from actually occurring. We're never able to actually just simply be with ourselves in pure awareness because alcohol, it keeps us entangled in all of the outdated and emotionally driven narratives that we've been using to define our lives and to define ourselves. Alcohol keeps us trapped in the old stories and it reinforces our personal ego self. Now remember, I've said it before, ego isn't a thing. It's just a mechanism of the thinking mind that creates a sense of personal self-identity. And this identity is wrapped up in all of our old definitions. And every time we drink, we are merely solidifying and reinforcing this false sense of self. We think we are what the stories are telling us we are, whatever that may be for you. And a lot of those stories we use as justification for us to drink more. And sometimes drinking actually becomes part of our identity as well. These stories, they form the conceptual or the thought-based models that we've created of ourselves. Alcohol keeps this in place. It keeps this model in place, and it obstructs the paradigm shift that we need to reach our true potential and experience true growth. Now, according to Eckhart Tolle, this is referred to as the pain body. Now, the pain body represents the accumulation of all of our past emotional pain, and this is intertwined with all of our personal identity aspects. It keeps us trapped in identification with the past, and it impedes our ability to transcend and to move toward any kind of healing. To me, all of life is spiritual, and I'm not talking in a religious sense. I'm speaking in a consciousness sense. We are all conscious spiritual beings. If we weren't, we wouldn't be human. And each of us has an opportunity in our life to experience the shift in consciousness. We can transition from a thought-based orientation of self to a more unified whole self that is not restricted by all the mental barriers that we have put up. It is the state of our natural true self before we divide up into all the limitations of a mental self. And alcohol seems to hinder that shift from occurring. It obstructs our spiritual growth. It obstructs our ability to awaken from the mentally constructed timeline self. Does that make sense? Spiritual growth happens when we give ourselves a chance to be present. This shift toward clarity can only occur when we decide to nurture our spiritual foundation. Alcohol totally disconnects us from this process, and it leaves us feeling really fragmented within ourselves. Spiritual shifts occur only when we pay attention to our inner state, and alcohol keeps us focused on that hidden aspect of self, that hidden self that truly doesn't even know itself and merely identifies as these many divided and confused parts that are all, fighting and resisting one another. There is only one self, and it can be unified only when all of the inner conditions allow for it. When the conditions permit, the definitions of all the perceived fragments, they fall away. And we realize that none of it actually applied to us in the first place. As long as we continue numbing ourselves out with alcohol, we might not ever discover this. Carl Jung said people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Well, alcohol use is one of those absurd things that we engage in. We fear any sort of discomfort. So what do? We drink to escape it. When we do finally find the willingness to confront our discomfort, we will discover what awaits us on the other side. And this is the hard truth, my friends, the hard truth that will set us free. So as the new year approaches, are you ready to truly understand how alcohol has held you back from realizing your full potential? This is the first step toward breaking free. Next, we must confront discomfort, and that's going to drive us toward genuine growth. It's time for us to be honest with ourselves. Take some time for reflection, whether through self-inquiry, journaling, or meditation, whatever mindful practice works best for you. These are the ways that we can learn to reconnect with ourselves. So find that willingness within you. So let me ask you this. What are your values? And are you living in alignment with them? Alcohol undermines our ability to uphold our personal values. Are you rationalizing and justifying your decision to keep drinking this year? Letting go of alcohol doesn't have to be a sacrifice. It's about giving yourself a fighting chance to create the life that you desire, a life of freedom, not captivity. Instead of fleeing from pain by numbing it out with booze, let's be present with it. Let's allow it to teach us. There is a lesson in everything if we are willing to seek it out. Your life-changing shift is nearer than you think. When the veil starts to lift, you're going to realize that the truth has been present all along. Alcohol, though, has kept those blinders on. Let go of what no longer serves you. Discover the true you, unbound by the outdated definitions of the conditioned mind. We are not our past. We are not our mistakes. We are not our habits. Free yourself to embrace your true potential. Free yourself to grow and to transform. With the arrival of this new year comes a chance for renewal. This is the perfect opportunity. I encourage you to seize it. Let this coming year be one where you emerge out of the fog and into clarity, no longer running, but facing the challenges and overcoming them. I hope this video has inspired somebody out there watching. I hope this message has planted hope in you for the new possibilities of the new year. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and I will see you all next time.